Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor.
Bitch, call your sponsor.
Welcome back to Bitch Call Your Sponsor. I'm Misty.
Hi, Misty. I'm Sam.
And that's Sam. And we are going to tell y'all our primary purpose for this podcast, which is our primary purpose is for
Misty and Sam
to grow their
friendship
and maybe help others. Y'all sound off. Are we helping y'all? Are y'all loving this? We need some validation up in here, okay? The topic I brought for Sam today is that I don't want us.
Ooh.
And it's so perfect. We are so aligned because it's pretty much been said like through our other podcasts this week, which is this rebellion. You know, this rebellion dogs my every step. And I don't want to. If I have to, I don't want to. If I'm supposed to, I don't want to. And it's not beneficial when it comes to things like meditation or doing your taxes or, you know, like there's a part of this inner teenager that I need to validate and be like, okay, cool. That's okay, sugar bear. And there's part of it. It's like, bitch, we are doing this. I know there's an in between, but, yeah, that's sometimes I just get in like pockets of I don't wanna.
Yeah, I don't wanna. I'm very, very familiar with it. I think a lot of it comes around procrastination and actually doing work. I think it talks about that in our 12 and 12, I want to say in step 4, where it says, you know, when it comes to work, we stay lazy and procrastinate or something of that nature. We work at half steam or something. I don't know, it's something along those lines. And I am, you know, definitely on the work front, when I, you know, my job status changed over the summer, I definitely was like, I don't want to do anything. And so I did. You know, and you know, when things were getting really real, where it's like, okay, there's not a lot of financial runway, like let's really like start moving. There was a lot of like just this like, oh, I should have. Why did I wait? Like a lot of that. So I'm never really happy, right? There's always that one tree in the forest that I love to focus, you know. And can't necessarily appreciate everything else. But this defiance, it's interesting. I've been noticing how it plays out in some sponsees, you know, because I've never been the sponsor or sponsored by like, do this. No, you have to do it this way. You know what I mean? And so that has given me a lot of freedom and actually less resistance, you know, because I could do it any which way. And then, you know, as an alcoholic, I take it the extreme. It's like, okay, well, I rushed anyway, you know. What's rushed?
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh. Yay. I'm so glad you feel the same way. It's so helpful. And yeah, the I don't want us have gotten me in a lot of trouble before. But there's also a place for it. Like exactly what you talked about. Sometimes this thinking is so much and so overpowering that I burn myself out and I get in the I don't want us. And then it feels like a monumental task to do one little thing that I was doing 80 of before, you know? And so I don't really know the way out of this except for to be kind and to find the balance between the discipline and the kindness and allowing myself to let myself off the hook. And then sometimes having to check in and go, we can't let you off the hook for this because I have deadlines coming up with the writing and I get really excited about a project and I start doing it. And then I told you, like, I I worked with a script coach on something, and I told a couple of people about it and how excited. And now I feel like I had a filet mignon and baked potato dinner. Like, I'm satiated. And now it's time to actually do the work and have deadlines. And I'm like, oh no, I've already gotten the dopamine from this.
I think there was a quote unquote relationship expert that was commenting on whoever's celebrity relationships, where they've constantly been engaged or whatever that is. And that, it's like the start of something is always so exciting,
Yes.
and like I share all the time, like, for me to do anything consistently, like I did drugs and alcohol consistently is like maybe sobriety at this point, because it's, I've surpassed the amount of time, that I'm sober now is greater than the time I actually used. But like, other than those two things, like to do something consistently, like I consistently picked up the first drink and drug all the time. And now I've consistently not picked up the first drink or drug a day at a time. Right. But then anything else, like, oh God, like why? Like I really would rather not,
I don't wanna.
So do you think so this is interesting. So, I've been delving into the numbers program, and
Yeah.
there's one meeting that's called FOS, Fear of Success. And, I think that like sometimes it's a head nodder for me, this pamphlet where it's like, oh yeah, I sabotage myself or I distract myself. I think like sometimes the procrastination or the I don't wanna is actually fear that I'm not necessarily feeling or facing. I'm just finding something else more interesting.
That is a really, really, really good point, and that's exactly where I'm at. I get scared of how bright my light can shine and if it's allowed to. And I recently wrote a piece for a writing group that I'm in, and I read it and I was like, this is so good. Like, am I allowed to put something out that's this good? And the fear of success, yes, that's it. It does haunt me. And like you were talking about, I mean, it's the insides can't. If my insides don't match my outsides, I will sabotage those outsides. There has to be this level. Oh, and here's another thing I was thinking about. Okay, so I think I told you last week about the heart and how it has a brain of its own. And it was saying that it's almost like a donut when they show, and this is science, it's not just a misty thing, it's not a new agey thing, it's science that we all have these electromagnetic fields that they're actually initiated from the heart, and they kind of look like a donut spiral around us. And people can pick up on our energy 3 feet around us, and whatever we're putting out, it's almost like an ecosystem, a self fulfilling ecosystem that's just rotating. And so whatever I'm putting out, I'm getting back in. And so in order to this fear of success is kind of like, I have to be vibrating at a certain energy to match those outsides.
I think in the woo-woo worlds, that would be like the aura, right? Like, oh, I could see the color of your aura, which actually there are colors, but like through the lens of science, right? It's like this electromagnetic energy field that's around one's body outside. Is that what I'm hearing you share?
Yeah.
This donut piece, yeah, which is 100. That's totally, I mean, yeah. It's interesting. This, what's coming up for me is, there's one of my meetings where, come to find out, some of the speakers have asked if they can share and speak. And I was like, huh? That's foreign to me. And
wait, what do you mean? I don't understand.
they've asked the chairperson if they can qualify. It's usually the chair, secretary, depending what kosher.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
the trusted servant selects the speakers, right? If it's like a speaker discussion meeting. And what I've been hearing is some speakers have asked the secretary or chair if they can speak and qualify. And
Yeah.
I roll my eyes and I'm like, what? No. Like, who does that? And then the other side of it is like, oh, they're actually practicing being seen. Like, that's part of their program. They're practicing being seen. They're making powerful requests. They're not attached to speaking or not, you know? And I'm like, that's for me is a different level of being seen and asking for making a request. Because I'm not used to that.
Okay, this is so good. I love these conversations. I love, 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 love. Okay, so when you're like, who would do that? Misty would do that. Oh my God, 1,000,000%. I would go and be like, have you not had me for a speaker? Okay. But my growth is that I don't do that. And that I let things unfold the way they're supposed to. And yes, when I was asking, it was my ego that thought I was better than, and everybody needed to hear me, and I was better than the last speaker they picked, and they should really get me. And then, it's like, I don't know. I've come to a different place with this, and now even when there's times where I'm like, I should definitely be speaking, I just shut my mouth and literally let go of my attachment to the results. And within 2 weeks, I swear to God, the secretary will reach out to me just because of this energetic field. Because maybe I'm putting it out there, but not on a verbal go asking level.
Yeah, well, I love this because we're always finding ourselves at opposite ends of the polar opposite, right? Like my growth, like on the career front, like I'm not on social media. Like I don't put myself out there, right? Like that is uncomfortable for me. Like I would rather just post a quote and call it a day, you know? And like that for me is like, that's where my growth lies. Like, you know, it's not in the being out there. It's like, I tend to be less out there. And so same with like this thing of asking to speak. I've yet to, I should say, make a request to speak somewhere. It's just happened. I've just let it happen organically, you know? But in seeing these people and they're asking, and I was like, whoa, like that is like next level for me. Cause like I've never done that. I've yet to do that. And I actually find that horrifying, you know, like me personally, you know, that's my growth where I'm like, oh God, I definitely don't want to do that. Definitely don't want to.
Yeah, you know, it's so difficult to tell. And this is why I think these conversations are so important because, you know, I remember when I first came in, I was working on a goal of being more polite to my coworkers, and there was a guy who was newly sober, same amount of time, and he was working on a goal of setting boundaries with his coworkers. And we didn't know any of this ACA stuff. We were both probably 4 months sober, and so I'm thinking he's doing it wrong, and he's thinking I'm doing it wrong. When in reality, we just had different places on the spectrum that we were learning to grow and push and pull. And with that comes overstepping and understepping, and who knows where that equilibrium lies for each person.
Yeah, it's actually gotten, this speaker situation has gotten a little bit, I don't know, I sometimes question, like, do I need to just start saying no? Like, I finally have started saying no to sponsorship, which is something that I never did before. And now I'm at a place of like, no, I'm at capacity. Like, there's literally no more time between my personal private time, work time, friend time, dating time, and sponsor program time. Like, there's, you know, so I finally started saying no. And so it's actually, it's like a little uncomfortable having that boundary, but I'm finding a lot of freedom there.
I think it's healthy. And even when you just said like, it's a little uncomfortable, it should be uncomfortable, you know, like setting a new boundary and doing something different is uncomfortable. And I think we should normalize, if you're doing growth, you're going to be uncomfortable. That goes with it. If you're feeling uncomfortable, you're in the right place. You're on the right path. As long as you're moving in a way that's like trying to be spiritual and not harming anyone and all of that, it's uncomfortable. And I go through, it's so interesting because I go through my realization that I've had in ACA is that, yes, there's this big personality that's confident and boisterous and bull in a china shop, but I'm doing that so that we don't have to go deeper. And as I go deeper, it means looking at all the places where I'm not actually doing it, I'm faux doing it.
Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor.
Bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor. Call your.
Send us an email with comments, questions, or concerns, bcysponsor@gmail.com.
Don't forget to rate 5 stars.